will be video recorded and broadcast over local access channel 8 and through the town website at www.eastm-ma.gov. Thank you. We do have quorum here, so we should start. There are no agenda changes.
No agenda changes for this
Okay,
evening.
and is there any public comment? Anyone, any public comment? Amanda, can you catch anybody out there in your world?
There is no one out in the waiting
Okay.
room.
All right, thank you. All right, so to start our priority business, we're going to start with Matt Kravitz, who is the Director of Student Services. As I mistook him for the Director of Technology earlier this evening. So Matt, thank you for all you do within the Student Services, and please go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Are you able to share? Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much. So good evening, everybody. Today is an opportunity just to do a quick check-in as to where we are within special education in Eastham Elementary School, looking at numbers and trajectory and projections going forward. So the very first slide, I wanted to compare where we started the year to where we are, and also to where we are looking going forward as of September. So on the top left of the screen, you're going to look at the total population and the breakdown of the disabilities, with a total number of students with disabilities of 33. As we moved into the midpoint of the year, as of this morning, total population's up a little bit. However, you're going to see that the numbers and percentages of disabilities are really close. Not a lot of deviation from where we were at the start of the year. So that does show that there's stability within the program and the population of the school as a whole. Again, with a 20% of students with disabilities, we're right at the state norm. So we're right at about where we want to be. Now, when we look at the estimate for September, we need to keep in mind that this is what we know as of right now. There can at any point be students moving into the district, students coming forward registering for kindergarten coming in that have not been evaluated yet, or students that have yet to turn 2 years and 9 months and be eligible for us to look at. But as of right now, we're estimating about 34 students to receive services at Eastham Elementary. Again, stability month to month, year to year within the program. Now, one of the benefits of my position is I have access to some data points through the Department of Ed. They call it, it's a resource allocation database, or radar. And it allows me to go back 5 years and look at trends in a lot of different areas. And since 2020, there has been in Eastham an increase in the areas of disability of autism, communication, and emotional, while a decrease in developmental delay. Now, we need to keep in mind that 3 years ago, the STEP classroom, or the social emotional classroom, did originate in the school. So there were students that were referred in, which count towards those numbers. So that does show where a slight uptick was just because of the specialized program within the school. Okay, Amanda, next slide, please. So just currently right now, we have 3 students from Eastham that attend inter-district programming, and that is consistent year to year. They're in specialized programs within the town of Brewster, and we have 2 students that have been placed out of district or out of the inter-districts in specialized programs. In looking at our outplacements last year, 3.4% of students with disabilities were outplaced. The state average is 5.2%. So again, that puts us within a safe zone in terms of not over-identifying or referring students to specialized programs. So that means that the vast majority of students are receiving their education within the general ed classroom or with having pull-out services. And Principal Crosby and his team has done an excellent job of being very, very flexible and adapting to the students that change, because I'm sure he can attest to this. Month to month, students come into Eastham and just matriculate right in, and they are able to change classes, change groupings, modify the instruction, and be able to do it in real time so that there's no interruption to their education, though they may have just enter the district as a whole. So big kudos to their team and their ability to welcome students at any point. And the very last thing on this presentation is I just wanted to call that we're looking to do a reboot or a 2.0 on the mental health subcommittee. As I understand, it originated before my time, right around the COVID time, and the needs of our students and our faculty has evolved. So in turn, I think it's an excellent opportunity to have the subcommittee change and evolve as well. So we're looking at the mental health subcommittee as part of the overall wellness committee, because mental health is part of the global wellness of a person. So rather than being a standalone, it's working in conjunction with. And initially, we're thinking about meeting quarterly, but that is flexible. If we identify that we need to look in a more frequent time frame, so whether it's every other month or every month, so be it. We will adapt, just as Principal Crosby does to his needs. We will adapt to the needs of the data that we have available to us. So the plan is this spring to actually take some time and identify as a group what are the data points that we're looking to track, that we're looking to potentially propose any interventions or services or whatnot, because everything in the mental health world is going to be data driven. And once we identify it this spring, then whoever is volunteering to be a part of that subcommittee, we will track. We will be involved in any interventions, any changes, and it will be a collaborative process. And that is it.
Through the chair, Matt, just so you know, like a little message popped up on our screen that said that the internet was unstable. So you kind of kicked in and out, not your fault. And so I just want to make sure when you were speaking, if there were any things that our members here didn't pick up that you'd like him to redo.
And any rejection? Mary, any section you folks like redone?
You good?
Okay, we're all set. Thank you.
Okay.
Matt, I just have one comment, please. When you do start going with mental health committee and as part of the wellness, could the time please be a little bit later in the day? My committee person cannot attend it right now because she's working. And right now, I guess the meetings for wellness is being held like at 3 in the afternoon. She can't get back to Eastham till at least 4 o'clock. So I are back down to this end, further down.
That is definitely the kind of information that we need to know so that we can do our best to accommodate everyone. So after 4 o'clock?
After 4, please. Thank you. We appreciate that. Yes.
May I ask one question just to clarify? When we have the 5 outplacements, those students are not in Eastham Elementary at all. They're attending school somewhere else. It's not just like they're okay.
Correct.
And that means like out of the Nauset public school system, out of NPS,
Yeah.
because you've got students here right now that are attending Brewster, but you also have students who are attending like the collaborative, for example.
And and those students are included in the
overall count.
percentages that are in the.
Yes.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments for men?
Through the chair?
Yes. Sure.
I want to just, I know that you kind of cut in and cut out again too, but I just want to kind of piggyback on your comments with your kudos to Eastham Elementary School staff for making every child feel welcome when they come into the school, and the flexibility that staff has shown to kind of be malleable so that our kids' needs were met. So I just want to make sure that everybody heard that, because I think that that's really, really important as well. And I think the other thing is we've had 9 to 10 additional students come into the district, into your district. Yeah. So I think that's something of note as well. That means that's come in from out of like our area that are basically drop-ins from somewhere else. So I think that's important. So you'll mention that in your principal's report. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt, very much. We appreciate hearing all the uptakes and updates on this program.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a very short, it's not so much a report, but it's a statement. It's a request. I talked to the town clerk today, And as of today, no one has pulled papers for the May election for school committee. Papers are ready to be pulled. If by pulling paper, you have to go and get the papers for signatures. Okay, and yeah, I'm sorry. The old term is pulling papers, the old age shows sometimes. And so they are already available, and then if you go in anytime, the town clerk's office open and grab those papers. And hopefully, if there are people interested, my seat, I will be retiring, my seat will be open, and Sarah's seat is open, but I know she's planning on, pulling paper, getting the paperwork done for that. So please, anyone who's interested, I really encourage you to go out, and I would hate to see this empty chair at this table come June. We will. Okay, so other than that, thank you all for all that you do anyway, I appreciate it. And now, Principal Bill.
Thanks, Ed. Thank you, everyone, and thanks, Matt, for sharing that your presentation also. You guys have my report, which I provide, and if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. And I also, just to share a couple of highlights, more just appreciation really for everything that transpired in during that last week, let's say, of before Christmas vacation, with all the volunteers for the holiday table and wrapping. That was fantastic, which provided every student, a chance to bring home a gift to their family members. And then Mrs. Poitras and our music teacher and the grade 4 and 5 students put on a couple of great performances, one at school and then one at the Council on Aging. And so there's, it's a huge undertaking of that as well. And that was really enjoyed by all. We just had some wonderful community events, and I just appreciate all the volunteers that helped to make those things happen. And we're continuing our new ELA curriculum implementation. So on January 21st, will be a full day professional development day for early adopters, because there's a group of people that started this year. And then there's those that decided to wait. And so there's going to be a launch for them on the 21st as well. So that's going really well. And we're looking forward to a full implementation in September of 2025. Any questions about just that part of the report that I provided? Anybody?
I don't have a question, but I do have to say, speaking to your 4th and 5th graders going to the Council on Aging, I have a lot of people in my life who use the Council on Aging, and they are so appreciative, and they just rave about the quality of what the kids are doing and just how much it means to them. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, Mrs. Poitras, really, she's kind of kept that relationship going there for a long, long time, with them, and it's been great. And that particular day was like a, sold out crowd. They were providing lunch, you know what I mean? So the place was, not to say that was the reason, but they, it's just lots of smiles, and it's great to have an
It's a good time.
intergenerational experience like that. It is great. So thanks. Yes.
Just to let you know, under what we're just discussing, it's the Community Preservation Committee, not Conservation.
Did I put conservation? That's a typo. I'm sorry.
Community.
Yeah.
Called Community
Typo.
Preservation.
Yes.
CPA.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
No, but thank you for pointing it out.
And Bill, a notice came out today, I'm not sure, I forgot who it actually came from, that it's gonna be a collection at the school until Friday for requests for.
Right, we're trying to do our share for the LMPD.
Yep, for
you
the
know.
LAFD, Fire Department, or Police
Yeah.
Department. And they're requesting if people have toothbrushes, toothpaste, the masks, you can bring them to the school by Friday, which is the 17th. Yeah, doing a little part for that. I appreciate all
I'm
those
sure
efforts.
many of us know people out there. I've got a 5th grade teacher that's got family and friends out there that, just been in the middle of it. So.
Yeah, but her whole family's out there.
Yeah.
Fortunately, not in the
Right.
fire area right now, but you never can tell with the winds. But thank you again for the school doing one more thing for the community.
And I was going to just share, after Giovanna shared that part of it, I'll share more with the budget.
Sure, yeah,
After
absolutely.
enrollment and stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, I could share it right now, just that we have since October, and this will kind of coincide with what we're discussing. Since October, we've enrolled 9 new students, at Eastham. So, which I think is unusual. I mean, I've been there, it's my 10th year there, and to see 9 new students come in. And then again, so they come in and, they could be coming with an IEP from the sending school district, or they could be coming with certain needs and things like that. And so when they come, you embrace them and, we're kind of obligated to meet them where they're at. So to have 9 children come into the building, in the last couple of months is significant. And I think the enrollment is up to 186 now, including preschool, which is, when I started in 2015, it was around there, 190.
Yes, around 190.
So it's really kind of on an uptick. I don't know what to attribute that to, but so,
Are they different grades?
yeah, different grades. Yeah, across, yeah. There's a 5th grader, 4th, 3rd, couple in 1st. So, yeah.
Can you say if there are any with IEP?
Yeah.
Can I say, well,
I think you have to be pretty careful because they
yeah,
can't,
well,
they
what I'm
can't do
saying
anything
to you
that's
is in
identifiable.
general, any child that enrolls in your
I
school
understand,
comes,
yeah.
you know what I mean, with,
I'm the finance committee, I'm just trying.
oh, of
right.
course, yeah.
Piece.
I mean, this budget, which you have, the draft of it is reflective of what we have to, of the needs that we have to meet next year. Yes, right.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? No. All right, we're going to Superintendent Clenchey.
Awesome, thank you. And Amanda, I've texted Gio, but can you text her again, please, and let her know that she should be ready here? And if she can pop on in the next couple of minutes, that would be great. Thank you, Amanda.
Yes, I've been in, excuse me, Superintendent Clenchey, I've been in touch
Oh,
with her.
and we lost
She's
you,
having
Amanda.
trouble getting in.
Say that again, Amanda.
I've been in touch with her and she's
Okay.
having trouble logging in.
Oh,
As I. Yes,
okay.
I'm in Eastham and we're having
So
trouble with the
that's-
internet.
yeah, that's it seems like the internet problem is across Eastham right now. So, and you know what? That's okay. And if she doesn't come in, I think Bill and I are more than capable of handling it for what it is tonight for version 2. So,
And I
the
do
problem-
have,
okay.
budget.
Oops, then we lost you again.
I do have the FY26 budget.
You do, okay, so
Okay.
I think what you said is you have the one sheeter.
Yes,
Yes. Okay, great. That's great.
yes, I do.
This disturbance may be, I've gotten notices on my computer that they're doing work. Xfinity is doing work in this area, this general area, so we may have interrupted services. That's
Oh,
been on
okay.
my computer for a week now, and I guess it's starting to show it's happening.
Nothing we can't deal with,
Nope.
though. Okay, so tonight,
Nope,
for
thank
the
you.
superintendent, for the superintendent's report, just 2 things to touch base on. And just as our elementary schools had a lot of celebrating that week before we left for the December break, our high school had a very special evening, and that was the Thursday night before our last Friday. We had our very first concert in that auditorium. It was so, I have goosebumps. It was so exciting. We had 138 alumni come back who graduated from the school, who came back to take part in that night. And so they joined the current music students, and it was just such a wonderful night. It was packed, but it was filled with dignitaries. Of course, Julian Sear, Senator Sear was there, but there were a lot of local dignitaries there, and it was just really a night of celebration. And it was so wonderful to see so many people there from all of our 4 communities. So moving forward now, of course, our next thing will be, and I'm going to speak to that, is our budget workshop will be held in there on January 30th. They did have a parents' evening there the other night, so it was just starting to get a little kicked in. The acoustics were phenomenal. It's just a beautiful facility, I'm going to move right into budget workshop. So this is our first maiden voyage to have a budget workshop for all 4 of our communities. Not sure exactly what to expect, but we're taking the steps forward. And we've been talking about this for over a year, even 2 years. Should we do this? And so this year we wanted to move forward with it. So it will be held on January 30th. We don't expect everyone that's linked to our budgeting process across the 4 districts to make it, because you can't find a night when there isn't a meeting somewhere. And so you kind of look, Arlene goes through and she takes a look and tries to find the one that has the night that has the least amount of meetings. And we chose it, I think, I want to say November, early December, and sent something out to our TATMs at that point in time, as like hold the date type thing. We know that not all school committee members will be able to be there. We understand that. We understand that not every TA or TM will be there. or every FinCom or every Board of Selectmen member, but it's open to everyone. And so the format that we're looking at taking is that we'll start that evening in the auditorium. And while everyone is there, we'll just kind of go quickly through our budget process. Those people like Mary and Peter, you've seen it also. For you, it's old hat, but for new people coming in, not knowing how our process works, I think it's really important that you see how we do it. So we'll talk through that, and then we'll immediately move into presenting the region schools budgets. The reason for that is, of course, that's all 4 communities, and so they always want to see what's going on with the middle school and high school. So that we'll start with that, and then we're gonna do a quick break, and I mean quick, like it's not like an hour or 40 minutes or anything like that. But our nutritional services wants to show off, obviously, their own part of the world. And so the kitchen and the cafeteria, if you haven't been in there, is stunningly beautiful. And so they're so excited, and so they will have a little bit more than snacks. They're actually going to do a little quick dinner for everyone that night. And so I said, well, we can't take a 40-minute break. No, we can get them through there very quickly. So I said, okay, if we can do it quickly. So we'll have a quick dinner, and then we'll go immediately into, and there's Giovanna, we'll go into our breakout rooms, and the breakout rooms will just give, because our school committee members already know our budgets, and people like in Eastham, Mary and Peter have been involved in a number of meetings outside of this group meeting. They come to almost all of our region and finance committee meetings at this point in time for the region. So they might know everything about it, but there'll be others that don't attend and won't have any knowledge on it. So we want to make sure that both the region is well represented and the elementary schools, and have some time for questions and answers at both levels. So 5 o'clock, process and region, quick dinner break, and then immediately into breakout rooms for the individual 4 communities. So that's our plan, and then we'll see how it goes. And if we need to tweak it for next year, then we will, and we'll do whatever. But we're very excited to have this first go round of our budget workshop for the 4 communities. So happy to take any questions. Welcome, Jill. We can see you, but just so you know, our internet's been a little unstable here in Eastham tonight. So just so that you're aware of that, okay? Any questions on my report, or any questions linked to anything to do with my office right now?
Thank you. Thank you.
Mary,
Yeah, I just have a question. How far along will the budgets be by January 30th? I mean, you've been talking that they're preliminary, so.
right. So let me just go through that process again. So because I would do it again in a minute anyway. So,
Okay.
so basically how our process works from here in terms of paperwork, in terms of what you see, not the actual process itself, but in terms of the paperwork and such, you get the draft number 1, and thereafter you start getting a 1-sheeter, right? And that 1 sheet, which you'll get tonight, shows the changes that have been made since version 1 and what we're sitting at now tonight, which is version 2. What will go before that January 30th meeting is your version 2. And then version 3 will occur for February. And then, of course, March is when all of our school committee friends vote on all of their budgets across NPS. So that's kind of where we sit at. So that's kind of where we're at, but I'll say more as soon as we can move into the budget.
Certainly.
Any other questions?
Questions?
Is there anything that school committee members need to prepare for the?
Absolutely not. Just love to have you there if you're available to be there that night. That's all.
Thank you. Giovanna, the next part of the meeting, it will be yours. We have the FY25 expenditure budget report, rather, if there's anything in particular you need to say about it. We all have copies of it, so.
Okay, I'll be brief, Anne. So starting on page 8 of the expenditure report, please. The prior month balance was $184,377. We spent or encumbered since last month's reporting $58,470, leaving a balance of $125,907. There was movement in various line items. I'm just going to identify those items over $1,000 since last month's reporting. Starting on page 1, at the top of the page, line item 2004, other central office expense. Here we spent or encumbered $1,811 since last month's reporting, and that's all based on the actual costs of the central office line item. And this line item and the one above it will fluctuate as we move through the year. Moving on to page 3, at the top of the page, the first line item 2017, substitute teachers. Here we did not unencumber the amounts paid for the month, so that number will be corrected next month, and the variance here is $1,543. The next line item 2071, special education substitutes ed assistants. Here we spent $1,350 since last month's reporting, and that's based on the need for coverage to cover absences. The next line item 2070, special education salaries ed assistants. Here we have what happened during the year was we had 2 staff members leave in October, and now we have replaced them. So here we had a change of $30,118. The next line item on page 4, towards the middle of the page, line item 2030, contracted services instructional. Here we spent or encumbered $4,071, and that's all based on student need and translation services. The next line item on page 5, at the top of the page, line item 2081, special education salaries guidance. Here we had to adjust the amount that was budgeted. The line item was incorrect when we went to allocate the reserve for negotiation. It was an input error. So here we have a negative variance of 38,000. That 38,000 is going to be reclassified to rural school aid, most likely in the next expenditure report. So there was changes here. Moving on to page 6, line item 2048, salaries custodial. Here we encumbered an additional $15,000 since last month's reporting. Looking at the hours worked, we projected out for the remainder of the year. The last item here, 2052, supplies custodian. We spent $1,004, and that's all based on building needs. So the next thing that we'll do before the meeting next month is we will reclassify those expenses in line item 2081 to rural school aid. And so that's my report for this month. Any questions?
No. Questions, Jill? No, we're all set. Thank you, Jill.
You're welcome.
On to the next phase, next year, FY26.
Amanda, can you put up the one-page document, please? Okay, when we began the budgeting process, we had version 1 dated December 13, 2024. The budget at that point was $4,817,559, which represented an increase over the fiscal 25 budget of $380,392, or an 8.57% increase. Since version 1, we've gone back to the table and looked at other funding sources that we could use to reduce the budget. So we looked at utilizing circuit breaker funds based upon the costs that we're incurring in fiscal 25. We expect to receive about $60,000 in circuit breaker funds, so we'll use those funds to apply to special education preschool. We also expect to receive in fiscal 26 rural school aid again, where you're going to be utilizing $22,000 of rural school aid again to offset the costs in line item 2037. And we have one retirement in the salaries teacher line item, and we're looking at a savings here of $25,000. When we factor all of these reductions into version 1, we come up with a budget as of today, version 2, a budget of $4,710,559. which represents an increase of $273,392 or a 6.16% increase.
Okay, so if I can just tee off of this then, Gio and Bill, and if I'm missing anything, I want you to jump in. So this is still from our lens, this number at 6.16 for the Eastham Elementary School is still too high for where we want to see ourselves land. But again, part of the process, and those of you who've been around for certainly the 4 years that I've been here, have seen us do this every single year. This is where we start. And then we continue. And then as we start to get numbers that we can plug in, like circuit breaker funds, I mean, that's an example of where we've got a general idea now of what will be applied for in the month of March. Now, so we're making our best estimated guesstimate at this point right now. And we know that we can count on 60,000 that will come through that we can use. Rural school aid. Now, this is a relatively new aid that's been coming in since COVID, really, I think, Gio, around that time frame. So this is not something that's been around for 20 or 30 years. This is something that's been relatively new, that 22,000, but we know now that 22,000 is going to come. And as we get closer to the month of February, we'll know what our house numbers are, because house number So, we kind of sit back and we find ourselves at almost at a, not a standstill position, but we are kind of in a stall position a little bit until those numbers come back in at the last bit of January and early part of February.
What are house numbers?
That's the first numbers that come out from the government for our Chapter 70 monies.
70.
Yeah, thank you. For the Chapter 70, that's generally when we get our first look at Chapter 70. And we expect this year it'll be timely. When Governor Healy first took over, it was a little bit slow in coming, but I think this year we're counting on that last part of January. So that'll help us out a little bit. Not that we get a ton of money from Chapter 70, but we do get some. And so that's important for us to know. So then generally when you get to your February budget version, which is like for us version 3, that's pretty much where you're getting close to landing on that number. The difference for us across NPS right now, Nassau Public Schools, is this is still the school with the highest percentage increase from last year. We don't have any schools right now across the district that are at this number as we sit for this month with our one-page sheets that come in. Now, just a reminder that, again, you've got your version 1, and that remains the version. That doesn't change at all, because it would be a mess. It would be a mess if we constantly went in there and did all the changes. So that's why you have the one-sheeters like this that come out there after and show you every version. And then by the time you get to March, when we're ready to make, to take the vote on it, that's when after you voted, that's when Gio's team takes all of this and then puts it into a final draft. So if you're new to this situation, your draft number 1 is that's the draft that you continue to work from. And that's the draft we continue to work from.
Just a request, Giovanna, could you send each of the school committee members a copy of that one page? We've not received that, just so to make sure we've all got the same
Yeah.
information.
Yes, in your
It's in the
packet.
packet. Yeah.
Oh, because it wasn't in mine.
Here.
Didn't get it.
It's in the back, maybe it's on the back.
It was the electronic.
Oh, because I proved mine up today. I didn't.
Yeah, I think the last
think-
email that Arnold sent.
It could be.
There was,
Yeah, I think she
Separate.
added the expenditure
Oh,
report
okay.
too later.
Yeah.
Thank you,
So,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No. There's a new one.
So now there's still some, and those of you who have been at our region finance meetings know full well, we still have a wrinkle that we're working out, right? And a couple wrinkles. Now, just to provide some context again for our newer committee members and anyone new watching this. So over the past 4 years in my time here, we have continuously worked away at trying to make sure that our lines are properly coded where they need to be, that they are in better alignment with the DESE coded lines. And this has been, we're not where we want to be yet, but we continue to work at that. So if there's some changes along the way, we've been making that. And I think we've done a really good job of that. But there are also some bigger changes right now in terms of the region. And you'd say, why would the region have anything to do with us? But it does. And Peter's got that. Yes, he knows exactly where I'm going to go with this. So there are some key things here, not in the middle school or the high school budget, but the region part of the budget. There are a couple of wonky places here that we need to try to clean up. And the preschool is one of them. And so what's been happening, and I can see, and this is not a 4 or 5 year old problem. This is like a 30-year-old problem that we're trying to bring resolution to, is the preschool, which all of our elementary districts feed into, has been housed with the region as being the fiscal agent. And yet it shouldn't really be, because the region is a grade 6 to 12 region. It's got nothing to do with elementaries. But because the preschool is all of NPS, someone somewhere thought that that would be a good idea to put it in there, except that the region has been paying costs for that preschool program that have got nothing to do with the region. And so the region, rightfully so, is saying, wait a minute, when are we going to stop this and fix this? So we contacted our legal counsel this year and said, listen, I think we're ready. We've got a lot of our housekeeping kind of cleaned up now. We're going to tackle some bigger things now. Not that there are a lot, because there aren't, but there are 1 or 2. And the preschool is one of those. So we asked our legal counsel to reach out to DESE's legal counsel. DESE is the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, but they really look after K to 12. Pre-K, we're not sure whether it's going to belong to EEC, which is the early elementary care, or because it's an integrated program and falls under our special ed, if that will put it over to DESE. So we're not sure. We don't know as we're sitting here, but we know we have a problem we have to fix. And so when do you start and say, hey, wait a minute? So that's the first thing. But I am pretty certain that DESE is not going to say, hey, NASA's trying to get their budget done. Let's make a decision on this quickly. I'm pretty sure that's not how this is going to play out. So we kind of have to parcel it off and say, okay, we got a little issue here. We're doing our best on the legalese component here to get an answer on where the correct place is to house this. But the bigger issue at play, although that's a big issue too, is how do we make sure that the region is not paying for part of the pre-K, because it doesn't belong in the region. It belongs in our elementary schools. So that's a bit of a bugaboo for us to work through right now. So I know that I had an idea. I don't know whether it's going to work yet or not. We're just working through some things right now. We're going to meet with our chairs of Union 54 and the region, I think on Thursday, to say, is this an idea? Is this how we can work this out? So we're trying to come up with some ways that we think will work for this. But the bottom line is that number now really has to go back to the elementary and out of the region. So whatever number you're seeing up there, like on, your one-sheeters as they start to come through, is going to increase, because this number has to fall to the elementary, but you're going to see the region drop that amount, right? So if you bus budget, like you do in Eastham or Wellfleet or even Orleans, it should be a wash, but if you're just looking only at the elementary, then you're gonna say, wait a minute, where did this come from?
So the little kind of cheat sheet that came
Yeah.
with like the explanation was so helpful. And I was wondering, are you talking about, it was the SE preschool tuition, that line, or
It's everything for the preschool.
right, but that's what it, so
It-
that's that, so that's that 20, like
It's-
line
no, it's not-
2088, no,
it
so
will-
this is something
this-
totally different.
This cost will be included in the central office budget.
We're not sure. That's an idea that's
Right now,
out there.
Where it's sitting right now, the total cost preschool. Well, it's at.
Well, it's actually at the
It's what-
region
yeah,
right
It's
now.
not in, I had the same question.
Yeah.
It's not in.
That-
Don't look at your budget for that
Okay.
number to be there because it hasn't been decided upon.
We are.
Although Geo's working on those numbers right now. But that's normally not a number that comes out until the region only budget comes out, and the region only budget is not wrapped up right now. So that will be a change to your actual budget.
So the pre,
Yeah,
It's a cost share.
it's part of your cost share, but that number is going to change. Yeah,
Okay.
Because.
that's right, because of the benefits, et cetera.
This kind of
And
particular-
that's right. And so far, really what's been happening for the last probably almost 30 years, from my understanding, is that what has been costed out to you has been salaries, but not benefits.
Right.
And so the benefits piece is the piece that still has to come into play here for everybody.
And that's what make the number grow.
Okay.
So that's what you're seeing, Deborah. is like
Yeah.
that's
You're
what
seeing a
share-
piece of
Okay.
it.
So there's gonna be something on top of that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mary, yes.
So I just have a question. It seemed to me that there must be other regions in the state of Massachusetts, similar to our region.
No,
No.
We're the only.
No,
one of two.
one or two.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
just wondering if that had pre-K and how.
We
that-
did. We reached out to them and it was even more of a more muddled than ours was. And so we
It
felt
wasn't helpful.
it was not helpful. I think Jim Nowak had rich discussion. Gio, if I'm characterizing it any other way, I know you'll let me know, but I think it was a robust discussion. But at the end, I think a fruitless discussion because it was like, no, it was not helpful for us at all. But yes, thank you, Mary, because that gave me a chance to say, yes, we've contacted our twin on the mainland.
Like some other region at pre-K and that, and the method of handling it,
Except we're not,
Would be helpful
yeah,
for us,
except
but
that we're
that-
not a region.
but that's not the
Yeah,
case.
no.
No, NPS is really just a moniker. It's just a name only, right? The Nauset Public Schools, because under the Nauset Public Schools are 5 completely dramatically, uniquely different school districts. And so we are not a region. NPS is not a region. NPS, this again for the new people, because I know Mary, you and Peter know this, but NPS only has one regional school district, and that is the middle and high school. And I think that's why this pre-K started that way, because it was the only regional school district within the NPS, except it's not a true pre-K to 12 region. So yeah, if it was a regular regional school district, you wouldn't be having this conversation. Yeah, so that fix is coming. The other fix that's coming is there are 2 positions that have been partially paid again out of the region and those really do belong in the central office. You're right, Anne. And so you will see us shift those, but again, if you're the omnibus budget, it's just a wash, but you'll see it go over to central office because that's where those positions always should have been. And so again, it's more a housekeeping thing, but you'll look at the central office number, which again will be reflected in a new central office number in the next month or so. And you'll see that go up. But again, if you're looking at the omnibus, it's just a wash. So those are 2 things. Now, if I've missed anything, Mary and Peter, I'll turn to you too, because, and Gio and Bill, because we've all been in these discussions. Bill hasn't been obviously in any of the regional discussions, but you've been in lots of those meetings.
And as you said, because of that central office budget. And central office budget, once it's finalized, it's divided amongst the elementary schools plus the region.
Right.
And since we are not ready to make that final total yet, it's gonna be, it will not be immediate. It won't be.
Right.
I think we have 3 meetings.
You have
scheduled.
3 meetings
We're hoping to
scheduled
get it
more
done
for
in a
the
couple,
central
yeah.
office, yeah, but those are the only key changes that I see coming, and so we're putting that on the table saying this is what
Right.
we're seeing right now.
Again, looking at that bottom number at central office level, it's humongous. It's once you throw everything into it, and so everyone's getting a little bit nausea from sitting there looking at this that we know we have to deal with.
And keep in mind that the central office is 60-40 split, right, Gio? I'm make sure I'm saying everything correctly,
Yeah.
but 60-40. 60 is paid by the regions, 40% is paid by the elementaries. So it's really like that. It goes across the elementaries, prorated on student population.
Yes, Sarah.
May I ask, you said at the beginning that the 6.1% is too high. What, not including these changes, that the 2 changes we know are coming.
Right.
What is the target you think it should be?
Well, what our communities are all asking for around that 3 to 4%. And I think you just made your
Mary just said
decision
it's
tonight.
3.
Their decision just came about tonight
Three.
for Eastham was 3%. That's what
Okay.
they're, now to keep in mind too, a couple of things, as this is not to offend anyone. But the school district has a very different target audience than the FinCom does or the Board of Selectmen do, right? And so we always have to keep that in mind. We always aim to try to get to where they want us to be. Like that is always our goal. And right now, I would tell you that we're probably going to hit that mark in our other schools. I don't know where with this change with the region only might be a little wonky here. But for the most part, we are seeing ourselves being able to hit that mark, so to speak, in like version 2, quite frankly, across the NPS. But your needs are a little bit different right now in Eastham, and they have been for the last couple of years. And here we sit again this year. But that doesn't mean that our discussions stop. In fact, Bill and I were talking earlier about the fact that I think our next meeting will now be with Matt and Gio and Kristen Anderson, our assistant superintendent, myself, to sit down and say, okay, let's go through this again. What else? Have we missed something? Have we, so that's that will be our next step for the Eastham elementary budget. So we aim to get there. It doesn't mean we always do get there, but we know where they're looking, and that's what we try to aim for.
When I kind of follow up with you, Sarah, when you were saying that you're hoping to.
Deb,
Oh.
use the mic, please.
Okay, sorry. To follow up with what Sarah was saying, and Brooke, what you were saying, lower number, are you hoping that there'll be other monies available?
No,
Because I'm just gonna say, like, looking through the budget and the great descriptions of what's changes, I don't see a lot of fluff.
there isn't fluff.
Right, so
I would agree with you 100%.
if there's anything that the school committee needs to know or needs to do to kind of let the public know,
So a couple of quick things just so thank you for saying that, because that always allows me to spring for something else if I can. So I'll give an example, although, like, for example, the school committee always has that level of influence to do what they choose to do, right? And that's kind of separate from your FinCom or your Board of Selectmen. And again, we say that with all love and affection for our FinCom members and our Board of Selectmen members. A lot. But the truth is, our job around this table with the school committee members is to take care of our children. That's why you're voted in. That's your role. And they know that. They know that. I mean, we've had this discussion even between myself and a town manager, a town administrator. We know that there's always a natural tension there, because their job, rightfully so, their job is to look after that bottom dollar and the ratepayers, and that's their job. And we understand that completely. We also know, though, when we've got kids that are coming through the door with different needs that we have to meet, you're right, there isn't fluff in that budget. So the only way, because keep in mind that a budget, again, this is for our new members, our budgets are generally about 80 or 90% staffing. There's only 10, maybe 20%, but generally not even 20% of discretionary monies. So if you're trying to take a big chunk out of the discretionary funds, there's just not a lot there, to your point. And so then you have to look at staffing. And that's where that next discussion comes, is, do we have to look at making cuts? Do we have to look at, or that's one piece. I think one of the best examples I can give of a school committee saying, yeah, we're not doing that, was Brewster last year. I think that was, I don't know that I've ever experienced that in my career, where they said, yeah, we're not doing that, and we want a Spanish teacher, and we're going to go out and get it. And so I remember thinking, what will this even look like? I never had a And so we're gonna go to the town and ask for it. By golly, they did. And by golly, they got it. So I mean, there's an example of a school committee that said, we hear you trying to get to this 3% number, and we're saying, no, you're not gonna do that. So so a school committee really, and that may be ultimately where this particular district lands in the month of February. You may be looking and saying, okay, do we have to have an extra meeting or two if this is what's gonna happen? Are we gonna accept this as a cut? Are we gonna leave this number where it is? But I will tell you right now, I am not expecting any additional monies to come in right at this point in time. And I don't think, Jill, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's even any emergency relief that is on the docket for Eastham. Am I right on that?
Not at the moment, because last
That's
year
what I thought.
we did not receive, we received a little bit of funds, but
A
not.
little tiny bit, wasn't it something
Tiny
like
bit.
we got a negative saying no monies and then we got 9,000, like it was such a
That's right.
small amount of money comparatively speaking to what we had submitted. So so no, I'm not seeing a lot of extra money. I mean, if you continue to keep your numbers at the 186 where it is right now, you're gonna see a little bit of an uptick on chapter 70. But again, you don't get a ton of chapter 70 money, so you're not going to see a huge amount of money.
We can hear it. It's muted. The tone of Eastham appears to be muted.
So that's kind of where it happens. So that's what happens with chapter 70. You really can't count on knowing exactly what you're going to get until the final number comes through. So it could change. Very often what you see, if the house number is a low end, then Senate generally boosts it up a little bit, and Senate ways kind of work at it, massage it a little bit, and then whatever comes out is what comes out at the other end.
Can I, so about that, kind of on the legislative, does each community get a slice of the pie, or is it just like level funded across the state?
No. It changes every single year in every single community.
So does it matter if our representatives hear from us saying what we need, and
That wouldn't affect it.
Okay.
That probably wouldn't affect it. I think that what we always need to continue to suggest to our legislators is our needs, but you're going to hear the exact same needs in every community across the Commonwealth. It's transportation, it's special education. Those are the key drivers. It doesn't matter what school district you're in right
I
now.
feel like every school committee should be like yelling
Yeah.
Go to our representatives, like,
We
this is what we need.
We need more money. We just
Yeah.
need to, yeah. And I think what you're really looking for is to have them to continue to advocate on our behalf. And I think, I know Senator Sear, like when we
Yeah.
were looking at
Yeah.
advocating for the new high school project, he was right in there. He was just
Well,
fabulous.
He's an alumnus. So yeah.
He is an alumni.
I mean,
He is an alumni, yeah.
But, well, our reps have been really good about, we unfortunately have not had the February meeting. And first Friday in February was always when we met with all our reps from all the districts that cover the Cape,
Mhm.
like actually come from Plymouth to P-Town. And it was really good hearing from them, and they really strongly support education.
They do.
And do their best to get every penny they can for all of us to make sure that we can, to assure that, yes, we are fulfilling our role in covering every student, that all students' needs are met. Not just one end or the other, but everyone is met. So I really have faith in our representatives, and I mean, rep and senators both.
Right.
I would
Um,
agree 100%,
so-
Ann, with what you're
yeah.
saying. We've got great representatives and senators that are on the Cape right now, and they listen intently to anything that we have to say to them. They are absolutely wonderful. Yeah. Any other questions, or did I miss anything?
It's a quick one.
Sure, Pete, if I miss something, please tell me.
No, it's just point of information. So for the high school, middle school region, they've got the budget and finance subcommittee
Mhm.
that really looks hard at the budget and
Thank you for bringing that up.
sends out questions to the principals and try to, find if there's any place to refine. Who serves that role? How does that?
Lori is muted again. Lori appears as muted again. It's muted.
There we go. They're unmuted.
No, right, he's
Or
working.
Monica, I can hear her saying it's muted.
Yeah.
What's the issue, Devin?
Yeah.
The town hall's internet. Just-
Seven's working on it, so just keep
Just
going.
Yeah.
going in now.
And Wayne said that there were some issues down in Orleans too, so.
So Peter, to that point, I mean, again, Geo's office, when version 1 is created, which is the version that we continuously work from, that's really populated primarily by her staff and HR. And we've got what they call the white sheets. We go through and we make sure that every person is accounted for, every staff. There's a huge amount of work that is done when we first initially populate the sheets before they even get to our principals. So our principals then pick them up and say, okay, is every staff member accounted for? And so they take them then and go after every staff member. So that whole process, you're right, is really done with Bill and our team. I do want to add a clarifying point though. So school committees members' role is really not to get a budget in line. School committee members' roles, because you don't develop the budget. The region doesn't develop the budget. We develop the budget, right? And part of it is at the region level is looking and saying, well, we've got these questions, and they have you're right, that subcommittee, the budget and finance subcommittee that dives deeply, but it's a much more complicated animal as you would well know from sitting there, than our municipal budgets are. So that's why the regions always have a budget and finance committee that help to oversee that lens.
My second question, I think it's small, is, and I just don't think I understand it. This, what's it called, dashboard, or the update, that the first piece we looked at, that's showing 125,000, sort of.
That's where you sit right now with
now.
your expenditures.
Snapshot in time,
Right.
but if.
That's exactly
if
right,
that-
snapshot in
If
time.
that holds, does that get added to the budget?
No, single municipality, and there's no such thing as an E&D or anything like that. That's why I'm saying, like, the regions have that ability, whereas a
E&D.
single municipalities
So how do we
cannot.
deal with that?
And so if you were to have that,
Yeah.
if
we have any money left.
you have, which at
That's
this
wishful
point in time,
thinking.
I think that's wishful thinking, because I don't think that you're gonna
Well, I
land there.
thought this was showing that we were 125 short. Or
No,
That's
over.
to the
That's
over
way
right
down.
now, to the good.
That's
Yeah,
a
to the
good
good.
I read it.
Working our way to June.
Yeah, yeah. So we still basically have 5 more months.
The other way.
Yeah. So two things. First of all, if you had, let's say you had 100, Brewster last year, Stony had $100,000 that they could give back, right, to the
Okay.
town. But what we asked for in Brewster, which again, I don't think we've got quite set up, but we want to get set up, is that special education stabilization
Yes.
fund. So the Brewster committee, so to speak, goes back to the town and says, listen, we've got this money going forward, but could you please put it into that special ed stabilization fund that we set up a couple years ago? Yeah, and so that's,
Agenda for next month, actually.
yeah, and so that's something that you really want to make sure. And then the Orleans set theirs up, I want to say 2 years ago. And they put, I think, I want to say, Gio, don't hold me to this number. I think around 50,000 in each year, I think is what they landed on. Or maybe it was 30,000 the first year and 50,000 the second, or something like that. So they're building their account up. Brewster is building their account up. Wellfleet's in the process of doing this as well. And now we have
So-
Eastham, so.
Since
Yeah.
we don't have, if we end up being over budget for last year.
Over budget or under budget?
Over, I'm just saying,
Like last year.
yeah, if this turns into a negative number.
Oh, for the negative number?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
So
if
we-
you don't have
well,
an E&D?
You don't have an E&D that you can go back to. You're absolutely right. And if you were the region, you would go back into the E&D. You're absolutely right. So here we were out of sync last year, I think around $26,000 or
Oh, yeah,
something like
but
that.
that's what I'm
And so
saying.
that's when we come back to the town and we say, listen, and it was special education needs at that
Right.
point in time. We didn't have a stabilization fund, so we had to come back to you folks.
Free
But
cash.
we gave your admin plenty of notice. Like we talked to them, I think the first discussion was in February,
Right.
to say, we see where this is trending and we've got some concerns. So we generally let the towns know well in advance if it's trending the wrong way.
We ended up with a
Thanks.
supervisor of $1,020,000
Right.
due to our educational costs.
Last year,
Yes.
yes.
Any further questions or comments right now? Okay, well, we don't have, there's approval of gifts and grants, which we do not have any this month, so that's just a buy.
Yeah, that's
Um,
just a recurring.
I'd like
yeah.
to talk to the committee members about their subcommittees they've been on. I'm on, as I mentioned, I'm on the central office budget subcommittee. We are still working at it. We will be for another couple of weeks at least. I also chair policy, and next month you will see the wellness policy. We have finalized that policy. We are still waiting to hear about the end of our policy manual. I mean, I'm hoping before I retire, we get the policy manual in place. It's just a hope. It's been 2 years. There is no rush. What can I tell you? I really am sorry. Let's see, I took that one. I think that's all I'm on right now.
Policy, if I can just speak to policy, don't forget, policy generally, when you do this, is a 3-year stint. And you know that going into the review that
Right.
you've done, and this has been, it's gonna have been 3 years.
Yes.
And yes, before you and I both walk away, we want that thing in
Exactly,
place for the
in
new
place,
super.
definitely in
Yeah.
place. Those are the ones I'm on. I can lose track of what committees I'm on right now. So let's see.
Sarah
Sarah?
probably would.
Superintendent search. So the 3 finalist names were released today. We have a meeting tomorrow with the subcommittee to plan the day at Nauset that they are gonna have next Wednesday and Thursday. So the 3 finalists will come and tour the various schools and meet and then people have a chance to meet.
It's very frustrating because I don't know if they can hear us again. I guess they lost the signal again.
Lost the signal again, yes.
Mhm.
What a night. Do they really have to do repairs? Gosh.
Communication subcommittee because we're meeting on Thursday.
Okay, thank you very much. I know you've got problems with time. I won't even ask you. Let's see. Devin, can you give report on any of your committee work?
Yeah, thanks. Can everybody hear me okay in town hall?
Yes, we can. Yep.
All right, terrific. Your signal dropped out for the entirety of the previous report, so that might be hard for the note takers. Might want to just talk about that after. 2 things. They're both themes that have been touched on during this committee. One, so at Cape Collaborative, Hope Haskam's the new executive director. She's starting up this month. And the first email that I received from Hope in that new role was to welcome the subcommittee and lots of other folks to the legislative breakfast. People were talking about meeting some leadership. So I just wanted to make sure that that was something that people were aware of. That's Friday, January 24th from 8:30 to 11:30.
Okay, so that date I think is relatively new, and Anne actually had alluded to that earlier to
Yeah,
this.
usually
So
that's first Friday in February, and no notices have come out that it's January 24th yet.
So if more folks want more details, I can share those after, but I just received that email as of maybe a minute before this meeting started. So
okay, that makes sense then. Okay.
maybe we're-
Yeah, maybe we can pass something along, Devin, to
Yep,
everyone.
yep. Absolutely. I would also just sort of double check with if this is yeah, I'll pass on my details. I'd say it's also probably worth following up with Hope just to make sure that's what's
Okay.
going on. It's at the DY Middle School. Yeah, 24th, 8:30, 11:30. The second piece, just on the theme of stabilization funds, this came out of the transportation subcommittee, and again, sort of when costs are variable and variable really in one direction, getting more expensive. The meeting last month was really about trying to figure out how to look at all of the expenses. And so the former director, I say former director because this is as of last month, Paul Hilton at the Collaborative provided us with an Excel spreadsheet that was this sort of comprehensive evaluation of all of these different expenses that go into making transportation work. And it's as you might imagine, it's complicated. There's lots of pieces, just like when we do our budgets with Geo. Maybe not quite as complicated as Geo's. I don't want to make it that sound like that crazy, but there's a lot of factors. And it's just to say, because there are that many different expense pieces, the notion of contributing to something like that stabilization fund was recommended, and I think that it will certainly take more consideration. I'd love to have a little bit of a discussion with everybody here about their thoughts on transportation as well, and get a better sense of what has been presented. So I'm kind of curious to sort of say it back to everybody here. What would that look like? What does it look like if we want to just talk as our own committee? And for me to sort of share more details, it's going to be kind of hard to do in a 2-minute span. I feel like it's going to take more time to discuss more deeply if people are interested. I'm just not quite sure the
so-
mechanism to do that.
Devin, why don't you send me your, what you'd like to put on the agenda for next month? I can do that for you.
And then we can have some discussion.
Sessions, certainly.
Great. And the other last piece to that specific to transportation was, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's also representation at the regional level. And I feel like they've been doing some more work more recently about expenses on that side. Does that sound right? They've had to recently purchase a few buses and think more about their long range planning.
Not exactly, but you know what, Gio, I'm going to turn this over to you because I know that you were at that last meeting. So maybe just a broad stroke overview. And Devin, I think really what you're seeing is that group, and it's not just the region, because that meeting has elementary folks at it as well. And I think that they're being relatively proactive right now as they're looking ahead, because their leases are wrapping up, and I think that they're getting ready for next steps in the next couple of years. So Gio, did I frame that properly?
That's correct. The leases are up at the end of June this year. So we're looking at, what are our options? What do we need to look for in the coming years to replace the fleet? And one of the items that we have discussed is, as a result of these savings that we're not making these lease payments, how do we handle those extra funds? So one of the items you'll notice on all the budgets with respect to transportation costs for in-district general ed and in-district special education, the line items are level funded. So that was one of the items. We level fund the budget so that you don't have any peaks and valleys in your costs going forward. We also looked at, well, what are our options here? Do we need to replace any of the propane buses at this point? And discussions were had on, well, if something happens during the year, do we have funds to support a purchase or not? So we looked at what the savings are expected to be in fiscal 26. The next topic that we looked at was establishing a capital reserve account to put funds in so that as the need arises for the replacement of the fleet, we have the funds available either to lease buses or to purchase outright new buses. So that's ongoing, continued discussions on that. But that is a summary of what's been transpiring with that subcommittee.
Thanks, Gio.
Thank you, Gio. Appreciate.
You're welcome.
Okay. All set, Devin, then?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Monica, any reports I know you're on the school council, any reports?
Not really. We're getting the 4th and 5th grade are gonna have a school dance, and it seems like it's gonna be the first time they doing this. So I know they're going to need a lot of chaperones, but I don't have more information.
Okay, thank you, Monica. That's Pavitt. That's
Oh, hey, Monica, I got to add, we were all at the rink this past a couple weeks ago. The fourth graders, we hosted all families at elementary school to come for an hour-long public skate. So Brooke and Bill, what's going on here, guys? We could have got you free rentals. We needed you out there, but didn't get the invites far away. Gio, we'll get you in some skates next year.
That's why we didn't attend. That's why I forgot about that.
Thank you both. Let's see, I think that covers all of our committee meetings, and school council, I know it's meeting tomorrow, Thursday. That's it for that. Future agenda fund topic to our next meeting, because it really needs to be started in seriousness. We haven't really discussed it very fully. And also, as I said, the wellness policy will be two things that will be on our agenda for next month. Approval of minutes from December 17th. People have copied a motion to.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from December 17th.
Second on those?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
And finally, our next is adjournment. Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for all your help. Appreciate it. And we shall see you all.
Thank you.
Sure.
Have a good night.
Bye.